Hello and welcome to another episode of Advice Lounge. I'm Kelsey Sanders.
And I'm Kevin Andrews. So again this week we took some randomly submitted emails submitted by you guys, our members, and tried to give you advice on anything and everything you could possibly think of.
Now some of the topics may be considered a little bit mature, but many teens today are faced with these situations, and we just want to provide a place where they can feel safe about getting good advice from their peers.
Now we received so many emails from our members this week that it was really hard to decide which ones to answer. So I want to remind you guys that you can go onto the forums and post things for other members to give you advice on if you feel up for it.
Okay, well let's get started. Anonymous writes, I'm almost 16 and I have no boobs. Other girls have boobs already and get more attention from boys. I want breast implants for my 16th birthday. I know my parents are going to get me a big present, so how can I tell them that I need implants? Okay, well here's the deal with breast implants, or breast augmentation as it's called. Breast development continues into the late teens and early 20s. So as you think you might need bigger boobs right now, in the long run, you may change your mind because your body is still developing and still changing. So it's really not the best idea to make this decision right now. Also, there are no studies or clinical trials on the safety and long-term risks of breast implants on people under the age of 18. So the risks are really unknown. Also, scientists, they've actually come to discover that of all the age groups, teenagers are the main ones that are more concerned with the way their body looks. And they've also discovered that this concern for their image lessens with age. So there again, it's better just to give it more time and just wait to make this decision. Also keep in mind that breast augmentation has a very high complication rate that often requires that you get another surgery 5 to 10 years later. And then on top of that, it causes breast pain and breast hardness and numbness in the nipple area, and it may last for years and sometimes it never goes away. So finally, if you change your mind and get them removed a few years later, your boobs may have the appearance to be stretched out or saggy. So it's probably best just to wait until your body is fully developed to make this decision. And plus, you said about the boys giving the girls with bigger boobs more attention, but that's not really what a relationship is about. Do you want the relationship to be based on the physical aspect? I don't think so. I think that you would rather have a guy like you for you, and that's who you should go for.
So Ben Rules writes, my parents got divorced a few years ago and I live with my mom. Now, she no longer gives me very much attention and I feel like running away. I think it might be better to go live with my dad. What should I do? Well, first and foremost, before making any sort of decision, I think you really need to sit down and talk to your mom about this. The fact that you've even thought about running away or leaving really shows that you're not happy with the situation. Now, not knowing your entire family situation, it's hard to know completely what's going on at home. But does your mom even really know that she's not giving you enough attention? If you could sit down in a calm manner and discuss this with her, she might realize that she's not giving you the amount of attention needed and can change her ways. Or she might have a really good reason of why she's been so distant lately. You're never going to know unless you talk to her.
Most importantly, being able to make a good decision for you and your family comes from good communication. Having good communication skills will help to strengthen the respect and trust in the relationship with your mother. Now, making the move to your father's house might be the best thing for you right now, but you need to make sure that you involve both your mother and your father in making the decision. Now be careful, because sometimes the grass seems greener on the other side, and making the move to your father's home may not be all that you expected it to be. Also, if you're having trouble communicating with your mother and your father, or they're having the same trouble with you, sometimes it's good to look for outside help, such as a therapist or a psychologist that works with teens and their families.
Alright, so Pink Bunny 12 wrote, I recently did something not cool and lost my parents' trust. How can I get it back and how long will it take? Well, building back your parents' trust may take some time. It's really hard to say one way or the other. I guess it kind of depends on how not cool the thing you did was, and if you've done any other not cool things before that. Now, what I would recommend doing is sitting down with your parents and setting out a clear-cut plan so you can continually build back that responsibility and regain the trust. Maybe you start with some small things, like things around the house, maybe chores or different things like that. That can show your parents that you're really ready to start gaining some more adult responsibilities.
In exchange, you could ask for small doses of freedom. For example, you could work with your parents on making a plan that'll show them in small steps that you're ready to earn their trust back and take charge of yourself, but in a positive way. This way, your parents won't feel like they went from giving you no responsibility or freedom to complete freedom. You can earn it back in small steps.
Now our next question is from RPG Gamer, and he asks, my best friend told me he is gay. Now I feel weird hanging out alone with him because I'm afraid he might make a move on me. What should I do? Well, your best friend obviously came out to you because he really trusts you. While you might feel a little bit uncomfortable with this newfound knowledge, he needs your support right now more than any of us can probably understand. And if he does know that you're heterosexual, he probably has no interest or reason in trying to make a move on you. There's a lot of guys that have girl best friends, and they don't make a move on them because they understand that it's a platonic relationship. However, if you do really value his friendship and he is your best friend, you really need to be open with him and express these feelings to him. Otherwise, this could come in between you two, and it could ruin the relationship that you've already established.
Our next question comes from Hoko Moko, and they write, some of my friends are starting to experiment with drugs. I'm curious too, but afraid of what might happen. What should I do? Well, there's so many reasons why you shouldn't even experiment with drugs, and you have every reason to be afraid of what might happen. For starters, many drugs are illegal, though of course not all of them are. Secondly, many drugs will change the way that you perceive things and oftentimes think. Now, many people say that drugs make them feel good, and that's why they use them. But drugs are not always fun. For instance, cocaine and methamphetamine can speed up your heart rate. LSD can make you feel extremely disoriented. Alcohol intoxication can impair your driving. Cigarette smoking can often lead to addiction and a lot of times lung cancer. And there have even been cases known where people have died almost suddenly after taking heroin. Now, marijuana hasn't been known to lead to a physical dependence or an overdose, but it is known to alter the way that you think, behave, and react. But it also has been known to become a gateway to other drug usage.
Now, there are many reasons why a teenager should not use drugs or alcohol. First off, being high on marijuana can affect your normal everyday life. Now, it's difficult to retain information when you're high on marijuana or any other drug, especially when you're using it every day. It can affect your ability to learn. Second, many adults who have drug problems started experimenting when they were teenagers. And finally, using drugs or alcohol can get you in a lot of trouble. If you're using drugs or alcohol, it's illegal for you. And being caught, the consequences can be huge. Now, adults nowadays are really strict on the zero tolerance policy. If you get caught, you could be arrested, you could be expelled, you could lose your driver's license, you could be prohibited from playing any sports, you could be rejected from getting a college loan, or you could just be denied from college.
Even though it's best to abstain from drug usage altogether, there may come a time where you do want to experiment. Now, this really isn't the best idea, but if you do, make sure that you learn as much as you possibly can and use common sense. If somebody offers you drugs, be cautious. Pay attention to how people behave and make sure that you understand that everyone reacts differently even to the same substance. Now, if you do decide to experiment, make sure that you have people around you that you trust and you can rely on. And always, always plan your transportation. Never drive or get in a car with anybody that has been drinking alcohol or using other drugs.
Yeah, have a plan with your close friends or your parents so that you can call them anytime, day or night, and they'll come pick you up, no questions asked, no consequences. It's impossible to know what's in these drugs because they're not regulated. Now, a majority of the fatal overdoses that happen is because young people don't know the strength of what they're taking or how they combine with other drugs. Therefore, your best bet is to seriously just stay away from them. They cause way more trouble than they're worth. This is Kevin Andrews
and Kelsey Sanders for Advice Lounge. Now be sure to keep your emails coming, and who knows, maybe your question will be featured on the next episode.
And remember, use your head. Every choice has a consequence.
Be smart.